G'day Bomber fans, the club has acted quickly. We've delisted our first lot of players for 2024. Jaden Hunter and Dyson Heppel have been joined by 3 fringe members on the outers, which now means we've already made 5 list changes before some teams have even made 1. So Kaine Baldwin, Tex Wanganeen and Nick Hind have all been delisted. Not too surprising, but there are some quite mad with the decision, so I am sure there'll be some conversations down in the comments below. Leave your thoughts down below, but yeah, today it's all about these 3 and what other changes we should expect to see. Before I get into it, I'll be posting a lot in the coming weeks and months. You guys know how much I love this time of the year. I've made sure to upgrade my setup. My good mate Liam has built me a nice PC so I can pump these videos out faster than I was on my laptop that took off like a spaceship every time I opened Microsoft Word. He's one of the few good Crows fans out there, so thank you Liam. But yeah, subscribe to see more of these videos. I'll be pretty frequent with content in the off season, so subscribe to the channel to see more of it. But let's just get into this one for now. Alrighty, so when the season ends, clubs usually come out and delist a bunch of players that they do not need on the list anymore. This doesn't mean that these are the only changes we are making as a team. It just means we're going to be thinking through the other ones a bit more before getting to them. So pretty much these decisions, these first ones would have been made weeks ago or in some cases months ago. The first few delistings are the easiest, and from there the club has to think about list decisions a little bit more. So I know that some will be mad that Wiedemann is not yet delisted. It doesn't mean he won't be. It is just the club making sure they're not delisting 2 key defenders at once without knowing that they can bring another one in through the draft or trade period. There'll be a few more list changes around the trade period before probably as we get through all the exit meetings, because they wouldn't have all occurred yet. Some players will be informed that they most likely won't be offered a new contract. Some will be told they will be. After these list changes, we now have a further 7 more out of contract players. I suspect there are at least 2 more delistings, probably more if we're taking a ruthless approach, which we could be. And a few of these changes will occur after the trade period if they do. That is just the club being cautious. As I said, you might be confused why Wiedemann isn't delisted yet, but think about how silly the club would look if we delisted 2 key defenders in Wiedemann and Baldwin, and then someone like Zach Reed wanted to leave the club as well. So anyway, let's just get into the individuals who are no longer with Essendon anymore and why the club elected not to offer them a new contract. Alright, starting with Tex Wanganeen, the son of Brownlow medalist Gavin. Tex came on as a supplemental selection before 2022 at the exact same time as Nick Martin, actually. Tex famously made his debut as the medical sub, but no one was injured when he played, so he sat on the bench in his vest watching the action. The following week he actually played though. He kicked a goal against Melbourne to get the crowd up and about. It was one of his 5 matches he played in his AFL career, technically 5, but really 4 considering one of those games he didn't set foot on the grass. Every game he played in his career was in 2022, his debut season, and he wouldn't feature after the bye in that year either, meaning he was on our list in the VFL or injured for 2.5 years after playing his last game. So it's no surprise the club decided to move him on. He really struggled for impact most weeks in the reserves, playing as a small forward, struggling to find the ball. Although late in 2024 he was moved to defence and looked fairly promising, but it was a bit too late. The decision to move Tex on was probably made early into the season. I saw it coming before the year, if I'm being honest. He was delisted after 5 games, 3 seasons, at 21 years old. The decision was even more concrete after Archie Roberts, a guy in his first year, came and broke into the first team in the same role before Wanganeen did. So Wanganeen was given more of a chance than most usually are. 3 years on an AFL list is a long time. Unfortunately, he was just never at the level to really look like a part of our future, so he was rightfully moved on. Hopefully he persists with footy and finds another club to be a part of. Kaine Baldwin, this is a bit of a rough one. Baldwin was also an SSP signing in 2021. He was a really promising junior. He actually captained South Australia in champs and under-16s, but injury struck. He did his knee twice. He had multiple reconstructions, and it actually meant he was passed over in the draft because clubs were a bit worried about his body. We picked him up anyway, developed him as a key forward. He made his debut in round 1 of 2022, a year after coming on our list, same time as Nick Martin as well. He played a further 3 games that year, kicking 2 goals. 2023 he was moved to defence, and it's where he looked more at home. He played 4 more games, including a couple of eye-catching ones. It was enough to ensure he earned a 1-year contract extension, but his body would let him down yet again in 2024. He was sidelined before the season with stress fractures, and from that injury, more problems arose. He would not be declared medically available for a single match in 2024, matching Jaden Hunter as the only other Essendon player to be sidelined for the whole season. Baldwin is talented, no doubt about it, but his body just doesn't want to play footy. He's never really had a proper run at it, and after 4 seasons at the club, he was let go. Keep in mind, for 2 of those seasons, he didn't play a single game, even in the reserves, so the decision is one that many were frustrated with, but clearly his body just isn't reliable enough, and the best ability in sports is availability. I would have liked to see more of what Baldwin can do, but unfortunately, you just didn't know if he was ever going to be able to overcome his injury troubles, and realistically, signing guys on 1-year deals who can't get out on the park is just keeping the spot away from someone who can. The club didn't delist Baldwin because of a lack of talent. They delisted him because they didn't know if they could rely on him to be on the list actually playing footy. I think that is completely fair in my eyes. We talk about guys halting development. Keeping injury-prone players on the list is just taking away from a youngster who could come in and develop instead. Let me know what you think. I know this one is a bit of a controversial one, but I think it had to happen. And finally, this one hurts. Fan favourite Nick Hind has also been let go. I really like Hind. I love his energy and I love his banter. He just seems like a wild bloke on the list. We bought him over from St Kilda for a packet of chips to replace Adam Sard. He impressed straight away. He was great in 2021, finishing pretty high up in our best and fairest, playing 22 games and averaging 22 disposals. The next year, he was yet again prominent, playing 21 matches. It was 2023 when we started to see his spot in the team questioned, though. He was dropped a few times into the reserves, played regularly as the sub, moved to a forward role, moved around the ground, really. And in 2024, he played the least amount of games he has played with us in a year, 15. Quite a few as a starting sub as well. He had a purple patch mid-year. He played back-to-back belters against the Tigers and Suns. He kicked 2 goals and had 25 disposals against the Tigers on Dreamtime. He was in great nick, but unfortunately that form didn't last long at all. His next highest disposal tally for the year after those 2 games was 15, and it saw him drop to the reserves where he would end his career. I love Hind. He's a really fun player, but unfortunately he's not getting any younger. He's 30 years old now. He's losing pace, losing touch with every year, and that's what happens with age. We've already seen the best of Hind. He's not going to improve from here, and unfortunately if Hind was being dropped from the team at 30, what would happen at 31 when other players come onto the list like Isaac Kako, who will be up forward where Hind played a lot of his recent footy? I think you could argue Hind should stay on the list for depth, but that's about it. I think it's clutching at straws to suggest a 30-year-old guy who's being used behind the likes of Jai Menzies will be a handy depth option next year when we improve on our list. I think if you're older than 28 and not in the best 23, your spot on the list has to be at the very least questioned. And Hind's role as that chaos utility is just not one that you can see value with down the track. Tough calls have to be made for us to get better, and keeping guys like Hind would simply not make us better than we currently are as a team. Why not get rid of him and bring in a youngster instead? Find someone who can play his role but at a younger age. It's not what we're taking away from our first team anyway. This one's a bit of a no-brainer if you ask me, but I get why some are upset. I do think he probably could have played more than he did this year. I guess that just shows that he isn't valued in a system as much as other players. Well, those are the 3 guys we delisted yesterday. There will be more down the track. I get that it's harsh and some might feel like a few of these guys are hard done by, but we need change at the club. We can't keep going along with this list that is just failing us year after year, and you can't tell me that any of these guys are certified parts of our future. We cannot keep having list cloggers. We need to improve, and this is a good way to start. Some ruthless calls early, some delistings that many are unhappy with, but that just shows the club is actually starting to make those hard decisions. I respect it. Had to be done in my eyes. Let me know what you think down below. Also, of course, thank you to each of these players. They all gave it a crack. Some played really good footy all of them played really good footy for the Dons at some stage, whether in the AFL or VFL, and they all really gave everything they could to the club. So we wish you all the best, but that is all for now. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe to stay tuned to more of these, and go Bombers.